Yeah,
Are you angry? Are you angry that this happened to you? Because for me, my experience with you is I don't ever feel anger. Like, I just think you're going with the flow. But then again, I don't know. Like, does it make you angry? Does it? I'm thankful you have advocates around you. Your sister sounds like I would want her next to me when I'm in the hospital, right? She's like
the
a
best.
bear. And I think that's incredible. And I think that thankfully your mindset is the way it is. But I would be curious to know if you're angry or depression. I'm sure you have bouts or whatever. But
I think I ask why. I definitely ask why. Especially I'm like, why couldn't this happen to someone who likes staying home and is a homebody? Like I was a go-getter, I was making things happening. I was like on main stage theaters in New York for comedy. Like my career was really finally getting
going,
there
yes,
after all the years of hard work. And I was just like, why couldn't this happen to someone that didn't care about like achieving such big things? Like SNL was the big thing
the
for
goal,
me, the
yeah.
goal. And like I was slowly incrementally doing the work to get there. And then this happens.
So is that not a goal anymore?
It is still.
Okay, good. So
Yay.
see, that's amazing. You didn't lose that
Yeah.
passion and that tenacity. So that's incredible.
Yeah, we're
looking at
doing
you
it.
now.
You know what I mean? It's like we're doing it. And
Well, in your Daily Beast interview article that I saw that you wrote, which was amazing, you mentioned how now COVID is something that gives you new material, right?
yeah.
Sadly, but kind of amazing that you can now.
I mean, everyone's heard of it. Yeah.
Everyone's something. Yeah.
It is, Ashley. It is like it's so funny now because now I can say, I'd rather be in a coma than eat chicken salad. And I've been in a coma. You know what I mean? It's like I
Yes,
can literally
great
say the
material.
most drastic thing and it's correct.
Yes. I love
it
that kind of
happened.
humor. I love that kind of humor.
Oh, God.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah.
It was a real thing. So it's like we're using this as material, honestly, because you have to cope. You have to cope.
It's therapy.
It's therapy.
Laugh through that shit.
Yes, and my therapist does say that comedy is a healthy form of healing and grieving and all of that. It's not brushing it under the rug because you are talking about it. You're just making a joke of it. It's almost like, when someone dies and you have the funeral and it's this very ceremonial, active healing thing because you're talking about the dead, you're grieving the dead, but it's also like an activity. So it's like, it's active healing. That's kind of like humor. It's like you're talking about it, you're doing it, but have activities in the form of stage, writing, TikToks, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You're creating material and that's pushing it forward. And I think that's really important to not be stagnant in your sadness, depression, anger, whatever it is. So Dina, I don't know if I ask why and I do get sad. I get the most sad when I'm in a 14-hour coughing fit and the pain is so bad that I'm like, I can't, this is
So you
torture.
still have that cough?
It's intermittent. It's better.
If you can't find the answer, then you're not angry. So I don't want to push it on you, but I think it's just not your disposition. But you didn't answer the question of how is your relationship with your parents now? Is it hard living at home? Is your mom or dad overcompensating? Are they super nervous? Do they give too much attention on because they're afraid that you're going to die? Or like, is it all of that?
I say it's like a social experiment living with your parents as an adult because you're like, oh, that's why I don't like this thing. Or like, that's why I do this because my parents, it's so interesting living with people that also experienced your trauma.
Oh, yeah.
And having secondhand trauma. And we're still in this thing. We're still in the war. We're still in me being super sick. So it's like, we're all traumatized from what happened, but then we're still traumatized. So it's like we're all just really trying to cope. It's not just, oh, we had a really bad car accident 2 years ago, and sometimes when we drive, we get nervous. It's like, no, we're still injured from the car accident, and we're constantly in the car accident. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I've noticed with mine is nothing to yours, but I have 4 autoimmune diseases and I've had 33 surgeries and I have chronic pain. But I make a habit of never talking about my pain because for me, it's very uncomfortable when people are like, how are you feeling? Like, are you okay? And they have this hope that every day you wake up the next day that you're going to be better and you're going to be better. And they're coming from a really great place. But then I feel disappointed that I have to tell them, no, I don't feel better.
Well, everyone wants the Cinderella story. Everyone wants the happy ending.
Yes.
And toxic positivity is exhausting. Yes. And I'm writing another article right now that's basically like, if you ask someone who's sick, how are you? You better listen, and you better actually actively say, but how are you? Versus, oh, you're staying positive. That's good. It's like, shut up. After a 14-hour coughing fit, I'm not positive. I'm not like, this is great. I wish this on everyone. What are you talking about? No. It's like, oh yeah, I wish someone to have 33 surgeries because that's positive. It's like, no, that sucks. And I think we really need to cut the shit with the toxic positivity. I'm so done with it because I have a sentence that I'm writing, and it's basically like, listening to someone who's chronically ill is not a burden on you. Being chronically ill is the burden. And it's like, don't ask then if you don't want a real response.
I had a situation a couple of months ago where a friend of mine, I said, how are you? And she had said, are you sure you really want to know?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, of course. And then she made sure she was in a safe space and someone was going to hear her. And then she went into the thing, and that is what shifted me. And so what I do now, instead of saying it if I don't mean it, I'll say, it's so nice to see you. Instead of how are you, right? Because I didn't know what toxic positivity was until like 7 months ago. And then I Googled it and I was like, oh shit, I'm guilty of this sometimes, right? Because we can all be overbearing to other people and whatever it may be. But I guess what is the happy medium of if you're feeling shitty after a cough and you're feeling, so for me, I just want someone to acknowledge it and go, God, I'm really sorry you're going through this right now. That must feel really shitty. How can I be of support? What can I do? And one of my friends who unfortunately just lost her husband, I said, tell me what support for me looks like right now. And she goes, the fact that you ask the question is support enough. And the fact that knowing you're just here is support enough. And that's all I can do. I learn not to push it anymore. I learn to just sort of step away, which is hard for me because I get anxieties for other people, right? And then I'm like, I want to calm my own anxieties down. It's like a contact anxiety, like a contact high. It's like a contact anxiety, right? And you're just like, oh my God. And then if I'm super sick and I'm not feeling well, I don't tell anyone because then I don't want to have to now emotionally, mentally take care of everyone that's worried about me.
Yeah.
And so what I do when I go to hospitals is I'm so used to going by myself because I am more frustrated and uncomfortable knowing that you have to sit there with me and I feel like you're bored. So for me and my disposition, it's easier if I go alone.
100%, because you're worried about them and their entertainment and their emotions. And you're like, but wait, I need to focus on my emotion and I need to focus on my health. The thing is that because I'm disabled, I do need someone to come with me because I am in a wheelchair, and I can't drive legally because of my coughing fits, my oxygen. I mean, it's like a whole thing. So my mom or my dad goes with me, and we're so in a routine now that we kind of have it down of what to do. But I completely agree with you. When I would go to the ER or something before being, disabled, I just didn't want to deal with someone else's emotions because I'm always
Totally.
fixated on someone else versus me. And it's like, it's funny sometimes when you sleep with someone and you're like, oh my God, are they sleeping okay? Like, I hope they're comfortable.
Yes.
And then you're focusing on them sleeping versus you sleeping. It's like, what? It's like, I need to go to
Totally.
bed. So there's this like, you need to relax because it's your energy that needs to be
Uh-huh.
fixed because you're chronically ill.
Yes.
So I get that. And
Yes.
also I'm now really thinking when you about, the how are you? It's now almost passive. And it's now almost like when someone says, um, let me know if there's anything I can do, and then they never do anything.
Uh-huh.
It's how are you is kind of starting to be like that, of where it
Yeah.
doesn't really mean anything and there's no meaning in it. And it doesn't mean, oh, I really care about you and want to listen.
Yeah, it's like the
Um,
I love yous too much. Like I love you, oh my God,
yes.
like away. Yeah, I get that.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I agree with what you were saying to your friend. It's so helpful. It's like, let me know how I can help you in the capacity of what you need from me and really like make it actionable items. And I think that's really helpful what you did with your friend.
Yeah, I learned that from Brene Brown in one of her books, Daring to Lead, or it was Atlas of the Heart. But I now use that because it's so, it feels healthy, it feels good, it feels right. And then also, I now make sure to make a concerted effort to not place myself in the middle of somebody's dramatic situation and take away from them and become the star of their show to come and rescue them. Right. And so, like, I'm not rescuing anyone because I don't have the bandwidth for that or the energy for that. And then I don't have all these things. And I know that you and I had met through a mutual friend. And usually I'll do kind things if I feel. I was talking to Ashley before about there's just this energy that certain people. And when a mutual friend of ours said your name and talked a little bit about your situation, she didn't go into detail. Energetically, it was like, you need to reach out to that girl. And so I just followed my intuition and my energy, and then here we are. But I think random acts of kindness can go a long way from strangers when you don't know them and, whatever it be. So it might give hope in the middle of, any situation. So I guess, like, before we start winding it up, is where do you find your hope every day? Like, how do you wake up every day with hope? Is that a choice? Because we've talked before on this podcast about happiness being a choice, right? And positivity being a choice. So did you make up your mind in your head that this isn't going to be you, you're going to beat it? And yes, of course you have your off days, but was that something that you shifted in your head about how you're going to deal with this?
Yes. You, I, bef- like I said before, of like, I do ask why. I, because of that why, what I do is constantly read and constantly search and talk to you, Dina, and talk to my therapist and the Buddhist chaplain, the Quaker chaplain, like all of these different people I write down, and I have an entire kind of journal of these brilliant words. um I spoke with the New York Times about this, of I think people get very worried about the random of, they try to victim blame, and they're like, oh, people malfunction when they hear my story because they're like, oh, she didn't have diabetes, oh, she wasn't overweight, oh, she wasn't. It's like, well, then how do I compute this and how do I blame her
Yes,
versus
it's like when someone dies, it's like, were they into drugs, or did
yes.
they blah
Right.
blah blah, and you're because they want a reason in their head so that they can be okay with why you're sick.
Yes, and to separate themselves from that, to they really try to do like our Darwinian, okay, I'm better and I survived and I'm the fittest and blah blah blah, and it's like, but you can be knocked out by a bus no matter how vegan you are, like.
Yes.
And so
True.
and so for me, I live in these two worlds. One, that randomness is okay and we have to be okay with that, and the only thing we can predict is change. And then I live in
Totally.
another world of well, what's the reason for that random? And so that comforts me in finding the why and searching for the why. And leaving the hospital, I mean, my entire world changed, right? Like I was living by myself in my gorgeous New York apartment that I got on my own and decorated on my own and was so excited. And then now I have, my parents packed up my place while I was in a coma and I haven't seen my stuff in 2 years. And now I
Sure.
live on my parents' couch and my world is so different. Um, but you have to search for the hope and the positivity, and you have to read and you have to seek out people that will help you with that. If you have a question, find out the answer.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm a seeker
you,
of information.
Seeker baby. And
Yes,
so
yes.
um I had this epiphany um one day in the car of, I think this needed to happen in order for you to get your dream of being on SNL and having, all this success, because you can be at home and focus on your creativity.
Mm-hmm.
You can live just for your health and just for your mind, even though I'm chronically ill and some days it's, you can't even lift up your phone because
Mm-hmm.
you're in so much pain. But um I had this epiphany of like, you know what, maybe it wouldn't have happened in New York because you were hanging on by a thread of working 9 to 5, then working out 5:30 to 7, and then doing comedy 7 to midnight Monday through Friday, and then doing 12 to 15 hour shoots during the weekend. Like
You were going to kill
maybe,
yourself in a
Right.
different way.
yes, what I
Exhausting.
mean? And so
Too
Yes.
much.
now the couple of hours I feel good during the day, I can be like, what do I want to do with those hours? And I can be really precious with them. And it was this great aha moment of like, all right, then lean into that. You can't control the uncontrollable. So what can you? And be creative, do exactly what you want to do. So I'm leaning into that and it feels very releasing and very like a weight has lifted off my
Mm-hmm.
shoulders.
It's
Mm-hmm.
interesting. If
Mm-hmm.
I could share like a part, because it's not to compare, it's just circumstances. I know if COVID wouldn't have happened, and then I probably wouldn't have separated from my husband when I did, because I wouldn't have been forced in that situation in that tiny apartment, right? And then I was forced out of that situation. So the universe and God did for me what I wasn't strong enough to do for myself, right? And then when I came here and I got more quiet and I started walking around this city like Forrest Gump, because I know in order to heal trauma, you have to have movement, right? So I'm just walking, walking, walking every day until I can't walk anymore. And then I just stop and then I go home and I'm listening to books and listening to information. And then it turns out that I kind of knew I had ADHD, but I wasn't sure. And then I've been assessed, and then I was also assessed with autism. And it's so interesting. I would have never, ever in my life, for one, ever accepted that at 53 if I wasn't quiet enough and I wasn't doing all of that internal work. And then I would have never heard it if I was distracted all the time by all the other gossip and things. And I always say, God put me on the Big Bear in Italy in an island all by myself so I could be protected and then to figure out what everything is. And I love that I am a seeker of knowledge, because if you tell me why something is the way it is, I could probably figure it out in my beautiful brain on how to shift it, make it different. Just give me the information. It's just like with the 4 autoimmunes, it's like, oh, you have spondyloarthritis. How did you not tell me that before I had my surgery 10 years ago? And wait, what? And then I have gout, and then I have rheumatoid arthritis, and I have fibromyalgia, right? So if I go to the doctor, I have some lesions on my legs right now, and she's like, oh, it's probably from one of your autoimmunes. And I'm like, okay, that's all they're going to give me. So I've learned that I have to be my own advocate. Mm-hmm. They don't know my body as well as I know my body. So I go in with notes on my phone, and I go in with dates, times, everything. I have printed things, and I go to them kind of basically telling them what I need from them, what tests I need to get done. And I never say I read it on Google or I did all that, but I just say because my body and in the past and all of that. But I've noticed that I had someone in town a couple weeks ago, and there was some traumatic experience that was going on. And then after he left, I felt like I was hit by a car, and it triggered my fibromyalgia flare up. It's that stress and that angst and that, so the approach you're taking where it's like calm and you're being gentle to yourself and you're learning to be kind to yourself, maybe the universe is preparing you for maybe the old you wouldn't have been able to handle the rejection or the comments or the shit people would say, on SNL or online. And now you'll be like, dude, I was in a fucking coma. There's nothing you're going to say to hurt me that, literally. So, and to find the positive, I'm trying not to be toxic positive, but to find that in something like this is so powerful, because you'll never know your parents now as well as you do, because you're seeing them in a completely different perspective. You'll never have this one-on-one relationship and time with yourself that you've been able to have. You've literally gotten to know every single part of who you are and your being and what makes it comfortable and what doesn't. You're learning that you have to speak up for yourself, right? And you're learning when you don't like something, no means no, right? You're learning that your sister, and I'm sure you already knew it before, but she would kill for you. And there's all of these amazing things, like people who you didn't even know in the hospital that are rooting for you, that love you, that support you. And it's probably on one end shown you the compassion and kindness of humanity. And maybe when you were going before, you were missing opportunities that you didn't realize were coming in your way because you were so focused on the trip in which the way you thought your journey was supposed to be. And so maybe you didn't have time to see Mr. Right or time to go on all of these things. And now maybe you're going to work smarter, not harder. And like you said, look at all these writing things you're doing, and you're helping so many people with your laughter. So like for me, when I used to pursue acting, I used to say I wanted to work with all of these famous people. And I did, but I wasn't specific. I should have said as an actress, but I just said I want to work. And it turns out a lot of them are my clients, right? And so here I am working with people in ways that I never thought I was going to work with them. And I'm working with them, and it is making a difference, right? But now they want something from me. I don't want something from them. And I was like, well, fuck you, go girl. Like, that's amazing, right? And so I put my acting dream to rest when I was on my third neck surgery, right? And so that was very difficult for me after 18 years of pursuing and all of that. And so it's interesting now because I don't get intimidated like I used to. I know that they're coming to me because I have something they want, and, vice versa in different ways. But it's interesting how time, experience, and life can change that dynamic, because it was like, why was I so afraid all the time or anxious? Because in my mind, my life was in their hands. My future of like me being famous or something was in there, and I was giving them much more power than they deserved. And so I think like for you, it's like to give it so much power and so much whatever on something that isn't going to work for you now, and to shift it. I think now you're also learning so much about how and where you give your power to and how it's effective. You know what I mean?
I agree with all of that. I also think when you were talking about your divorce, like how COVID kind of made you look at that. I really believe that however you want to brand it, your guardian angels, your guardians, however you want to frame it, your board members, they basically scream things at you and we never listen. And then finally they're like, no, this is going to happen whether you like it or not, because you're not paying attention to me. And with you, it was like you had to look at the divorce and be like, oh, okay, this has to happen. And for me, it was like, oh, you have to slow down and you have to be kind to yourself, and you have to, give yourself grace. And I had to be in literal coma for me to listen to that. And
Yeah.
it's funny the things that we don't pick up that are little hints from the universe that we ignore.
Totally.
Um, but it's like, why do we wake up every day wishing for something different but doing nothing different?
For sure. That's amazing. That's so that should be a bumper sticker. But it's so true because I feel like so many people, and Ashley and I were talking about this earlier about doing the work and things like that. Things don't change unless you do. And so the fact is that people want it easy, right? And so I'll tell you, when I was in the hospital and I had felt literally something like this going, turn on your home cams. And I was like, and I have these cameras for my dogs. And, but that is where I found my ex was having a conversation with someone talking about an affair, right? That he had been having. And, it's interesting. After that, I heard a voice say, if we were to show you any other way, you would have never heard it. And it's so true because I wouldn't have believed it. I would have been like, oh, come on. There's no way. Like, dude, like, blah, blah. And then I wasn't like dramatic or whatever. It was like, I knew now that this was me being pushed, like forced out. And then so it's interesting because if that hadn't happened, I was already sitting in an uncomfortable situation for about 7 years. And so literally now I listen, whether it's bad, good, and different. If my body gives me signals I'm not feeling great, I know when to push through and when not to push through. If I'm feeling sad, I don't try to stop my crying anymore. I get it all out. If I'm feeling frustrated, I will dig in search of like, why are you so fucking angry? And I will write shit down and I release it. I now do not run from feeling my emotions because that is what got me stuck for so long in a situation because I was trying to push it under the rug and make it work.
Yeah, you go numb to those things. And when you're numb, you're not seeing signs. And when you're just going through the motions and you're just grinding the gears and you're just going in the hamster wheel, you're not looking around at things. And it's wild when you do. When you open
Yeah.
your eyes to things and it's like you got that tap on the shoulder from the
My
universe
guides.
because they were
Yes.
like, you need to actually see this for your own eyes rather than you might have even if you saw a text message on his phone just been like, oh, whatever, not a big deal. But it's
Totally.
like you had to see this like full on movie level,
38 minutes long.
38
And
minutes
I
long.
recorded it. Yes.
Jeez. Girl.
Right? And it's so fascinating to me because, with family members or certain things, people tell you and show you who they are, but we choose to sugarcoat it. Oh, they don't mean that because they're blah, blah, blah. So I wanted to ask you on a different subject. What does work now look like in the future? Like, can you go get a job again? Like, can you sit at a desk? Can you do like, what does that look like for your future? Did they put you on permanent disability for the rest of your life?
I'm on permanent disability, but listen, like not if, when I get better, I'm going right back at it. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I can't go to the bathroom without having a 2 to 8 hour coughing fit. So it's not
Oh,
plausible right
yeah.
now.
Uh-huh.
But as I said before, control the controllables. So as soon as my fingers started to like work again and my eyesight got like a little bit stronger and all this stuff when I got home, I was like, let's start writing. So then, I wrote my Daily Beast article and started to do what I could, which is more brain work than anything. So I do as much as my body allows me to do. Sometimes I can't do anything for 2 weeks. I can't write for 2 weeks. The future is very, very foggy for me as to what my capabilities will be. So I'm trying to focus on right now. And right now is being able to write. I can talk longer now.
Yeah. Can you
Because
verbal
And what
text
about,
if you can't write sometimes? Can you verbal text? Like,
yeah, yeah.
amazing. Because the computer does it too, the verbal texting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What
which is
about
great.
social media, like for your comedy and stuff? I see some little funny clips and stuff. Like, thank God for that, because you can do that from
Thank
home.
God for
You
that.
can
And
do that
that's
from
what
anywhere and keep that energy of the comedy going, right? And your stand up going, in a sense.
exactly. It's like what can we control? Great. I can control. I sit on this couch, I sleep here, I eat here, I do everything here. Let's make content. So it's like let's do my comedy on the couch rather than on stage right now and
Yeah, it's
focus
really
on
funny
that.
your stuff
I
too.
was gonna
Like
say.
Thank
some of your
you.
videos, like dude, the one where you're like, they call me Stacy, and you're like, they call me Dead. Like I'm like, fuck, girl, like that. See, that's the inappropriate humor I love. Right? It's so
Speaking of,
inappropriate, shock value. You know?
can I ask two really important questions too? Speaking of inappropriate humor,
Yeah,
Always.
when
please do.
your parents were going through your apartment, when you were in the hospital, did your mom really find your vibrator?
Yeah, she found multiple ones.
That's amazing.
Come
Did she call you
on.
out on it? Did she
Well,
show it to you and go, well,
here's the thing, it's packed up. It's packed up.
Oh,
I
it's
so
amazing.
they
Were they clean?
my
I know
yes,
where they
thank
clean,
God.
and more than one. Wait, how many do you need?
Well, there's all different sizes, it's like it's a
It's amazing.
melange. It's a melange.
Ah,
And
okay.
so
Choices, options.
choices
Girl got to have
and
options.
yeah, and it was because the doctors were like, your daughter's gonna die. Like, you should back up her stuff. So
Oof.
I was in a coma and they drove down to New York, packed up all my stuff,
Wow.
and then my mom found this vibrator, the big one. Well, she found all of them, but the big one that she said deserves
How
this
big?
zip code.
Oh
And
boy.
so she didn't tell me. Well, it was sad because she was like, "We packed up your apartment." And I was like, "Oh my God, my life is like packed up in boxes." And then when I got home, I was like, "Oh my God, she had to like touch and pack my vibrator and the one that came for free with the other vibrator." And
Oh
like,
boy.
so then we like just absolutely have joked about it. And so, yes, she did very much find it and very much pack it.
That's amazing. And you
That's so
got out of
funny.
your lease easy because you were in a coma.
Yeah, they were like, she's probably dead. And they were like, okay.
My God.
Oh my God. So have there been people that showed up for you that you thought would show up for you the least, and people that you thought would show up for you the most didn't show up as you thought they would?
Yeah, it's wild. It's I didn't think that was gonna happen, but there are people that I've known for like 15 years that just completely shut down, were not there. I also think some of them have like attention issues and they couldn't deal with me needing more help,
All of it, yes.
all of the help, because I'm more, I like really give and give and give. And I think it was very bizarre for me to ask for help and ask for something back.
Uh-huh.
And then I have friends that I met in New York that were only a year old friendship that came and drove up to Boston and visited me and write me
Yeah.
beautiful letters and notes
That's
and
amazing.
That is so
cards
sweet.
and gifts. It's really interesting, Dina, because you think people are going to react the same way, and it's not the case. Everyone really participates or sits on the subs bench, and you have to reevaluate things. But it's been really nice too, of these people that are new friends that like are incredible.
And you could have
That
spent a
is
lot of
nice.
time wasting on those people that now you found out don't show up the way you need them to. And you
Yeah,
can compartmentalize friendships.
you
You know what
really
I
can.
mean? Yeah.
You really can. I Everyone said during COVID they were able to prioritize, like, okay, this person I just get drinks with. I don't need them right now because it's
Uh-huh.
COVID and I don't have the time, the energy, whatever. With mine, it's more severe, right? It's like I need people that actually like can help me get up from the couch or can help
Yeah.
me,
Real help.
if I have someone come over that is COVID tested and all of that. And I also have to have faith that these people quarantined when they come see me still to this day.
Yeah.
I have to
That
be
they're
able to
telling
know
you
that
the truth.
telling me the truth, that they took a COVID test,
TCR,
that
yeah.
they, all of these things. So I have to really trust these people because my immune system is just in the gutter. When they come and I'm like, oh, let's order food because I can't cook, unfortunately. Like I can't stand for that long. And it's tragic. It's those mini
Yeah.
tragedies, you know what I mean? That are just really hard. But I'll be like, oh, I'll order food. And it's them going to the door and picking it up and putting it on plates and serving me. Like I'm so not used to that.
Yeah.
Um, and so
It
for
took
people to
you
do
being
that,
Yeah, it took you being in a fucking coma for you to learn how to accept kindness.
yeah, it's really it's a 4-in-1. It's a 4-in-1. But
Yeah.
it's I literally need it, which is it's so taboo for me and foreign, but it's something that is actually survival based, like for my well-being, that there's no dilly-dallying around it. You need this. Um so it's just beautiful, the people that do show up and are like, no, I need to give more to you, and people are stepping up, and it's
That is
incredible.
incredible. Yeah.
And do you think you'll
Really
do it
incredible.
differently now when you re-enter the real world again? Will you keep that balance of letting people be kind to you and do things for you? Because you said you're going to jump right back in and hit it the way you were before. So
It's very
will there be a balance?
uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable for me. I don't, it's so bizarre. It's so bizarre. I mean, it's like I was in a crowded place. It was like the second crowded place I've been in since March 2020. And I'm in a wheelchair, and I'm making sure people around me are okay. And it's like, what? It's like you're in a wheel, like you have an oxygen tank that you're holding, that it is literally making you live. Like it's just, I need to practice it for a very long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So you attract takers like I have in the past, where I attract takers and I'm the giver and I'm always servicing. It's like, where did we learn that from? Right. And so you have to unlearn that behavior and then you have to relearn it. And I would rather try myself first. And then if I didn't succeed, then I would ask for help. But in the interim, I'm always looking around going, okay, I better do this and I better do that, because in case my back isn't good this day, then I don't have to do that. And right? And it's just like, so then I got smart one day, and there's all these young girls that play downstairs, and I couldn't move my back, and I had to have my bedroom clean because people were coming over. And I paid them $5 each to come help me clean my bedroom. So I was like, and they're 11, and it was lovely. And did they do a perfect job? No, but it helped me in that situation. So now I always ask them for help. You find
Yeah.
it in the most surprising places.
Wow. Yeah, it's so true. I mean, there's people that just step up that you didn't even think had that capability, or you never even asked, and that's your own doing, essentially, you know what I mean? But it's like, because you give and give, but you also get depleted from that. Like you're very, you get very exhausted by it, and it's not fulfilling.
Yeah.
And so it's the phrase I heard yesterday was like, you have to make sure your glass is full before you give. And
We just did a whole episode on this.
you did, okay. Because it's like,
People
it's
pleasing.
like people pleasing. It's like
Yes.
chronic, and it's like it's not the oxygen you put on yours before the other person. Like I'd be someone that was like putting oxygen on the airplane, like to everyone, and then I would just like die. It's like, well, then what does
Yes.
that do? What does that do? So that's something I am really trying to learn. It's still
And
very uncomfortable,
yeah.
but
And culturally, you're Greek, right? I'm Italian. And it's this guilt thing that we're also raised with, that it's like, you have to do this in order to be a good girl. And you have to do this and show up for this one and kiss all your uncles and kiss all your aunties and did it. And then it's like this confusing thing, because it's like attached to this emotion that you feel really bad if you're not servicing someone like you were taught to as a kid and given guilt to,
yeah,
you know?
it's like being a woman, being, culturally, what is that? It's like such that combination of things that and it's so funny because I do hear a lot of people like on podcasts and in books and like all the stuff that they're like, I'm empathy driven and I'm a giver. And then I'm like, no, you're not. I've met you. You're a fucking asshole. Like there are some
Call
people
them out.
really, you know what I mean? Like some people really love to say it and like brag about it. And it's like a humble brag or a regular bragger. Like, but for me, I'm like, A, this is really like who I am. And B, it's not actually a good thing. Like I actually need to change that.
Right.
Because it's not serving me. It's not, my
it's
friends
unhealthy.
and my friends actually said, they were like, it was actually amazing to see you ask for something in the hospital. They were like, we've never seen you do that before. And like,
that.
Oh, wow.
you asking for, a juice and to hold it up because I can't even
Wow.
hold a juice. Like they were like, we've never seen that from you. And it was really amazing. And so it's like, it's actually not a good thing. And I think some people come on and on whatever platform and they love being like, I'm such an empathy like person. It's like, no, you're not. But they think it's a good thing. And I'm kind of saying I am, and I know I need to not be that way.
Meaning they take pride in being a martyr. Like they're climbing those hills they do not need to climb in the first place, and then wanting you to feel for them because they sacrificed, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's like the unhealthy habit of people pleasing, right?
Right. And it's not serving anyone. And so it's like, I'm really trying to break that down because it's
what was your job before? Sorry, what was your job before?
I was at a nonprofit. So I was
so you raise money?
Yeah, and it was for victims of 9/11, like for their families.
So see, even in your job you're giving. So that's where I'm like, in my head, I'm like, ask her about her job because even so, no matter what, from when you wake up until you go to bed, you're giving.
Yeah. Gratitude's Greek.
Kidding.
Greeks are really giving though. No, Greeks are very
I know,
giving.
I'm just saying. It's amazing.
But I think there's this gratitude is a weird word. We use it a lot to be like, say 3 things you're grateful for and you'll be more happy and you'll be more positive and all this stuff. For me, I take it to such an extreme that I'm like, I'm grateful that I have clean water. I'm grateful for this rug. Like I get to such an extreme where I'm like, well, then I'm not deserving of any needs being met because I should be grateful for the clean water. If that makes sense.
Get it. So yes. So you gaslight yourself.
Of like, for me, I look
at all my privileges. That's not how that's supposed to work.
Right. And for me, it's like, I look at all my privileges, right? Like, I'm white.
Yes.
I grew up with 2 parents. I had clean water. I had food on the table. That is more than most people could ever say. And so for me, I'm like, I can't complain. I can't ask for things because these are incredible things that I was given with.
But isn't that toxic positivity that you were talking about?
It is.
Okay.
So it's like, I have to really be okay with saying either I need help or I'm upset about something. It's like when I was little, instead of doing homework, I would talk on the phone and talk to my friends who were having a bad time and I wouldn't do my homework. And like, I really care about other people, but I need to also care about myself. And being chronically ill, you really have to look in the mirror and think about that and look at yourself. So yeah, I think grateful and gratitude sometimes are a weird word because everyone's like, this is a blessing. This is a gratitude. Like, sometimes it's okay to say that something's wrong. The Buddhist chaplain I spoke to said toxic positivity is poison to the body. And that's a Buddhist. And I think Western cultures have taken Buddhism and they've whiteified it and made it, this like accessible thing to white people and blah, blah, blah.
Cute little bracelets and crystals.
Yeah.
I mean, I do like the cute little bracelets and the crystals.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I have crystals all over there.
I mean, I got one in my pocket.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, this is all crystals. But it's they've almost vilified being negative or having anger or sadness. And it's like, those are indicators of what your body is. Like, Dina, you said your body after seeing someone was hurting. That's your body telling you something.
Of course.
And it's like, we shouldn't ignore these things. And I think we're kind of taught, especially with this,
to push through.
Yes,
just push through. You got this. Push it.
And
it's
be
like,
positive.
No,
and
yes, no. Can you give a little example from your perspective what toxic positivity is for people who don't know?
It's so aggravating.
I
It's
can tell.
Toxic positivity is me saying, I coughed for 14 hours today, and someone said, well, it's like a cleanse. Like, your body needed that.
Oh, no, she didn't. He
Oh,
didn't.
no.
What?
Oh,
hell no.
Or me saying, you know,
a cleanse of what?
of like your body.
Yeah,
and
right.
Then,
sounds like
or
hell.
someone saying, you know, I'm like, oh, I'm not paralyzed anymore, but I still need a wheelchair. And someone going, well, that's good. And it's like, they go, I'm so glad you're doing so good. Huh? I'm in a wheelchair. Like, what are you talking about? Like, there's just this weird thing that we were talking about earlier, Gina, of like, just because you're having a good day today doesn't mean yesterday was the worst day of your life, and doesn't mean 2 days from now is going to be the worst day of your life. So sometimes, I don't know if you get like this, but sometimes I'm almost hesitant to give the positive things, because then
for sure,
people are like,
yes,
great, you're healed. I don't have to hear about you and your illness or like something
and
like that.
And they hold you to that.
They hold you to
they
that.
Hold
and they
you
think
to
that's your
it.
standard.
Yes, and then they'll be like, but last time we talked, you were so much better.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you'll hear from somebody else, and then they'll go, oh, I talked to so-and-so, and they said you're doing... You're like, dude, what? And it's like, I don't want... Now I have to explain and justify or backtrack or do whatever. And it's just like, I'm living moment by moment through each situation, and I'm doing the best I can under these circumstances in this moment. So generally, when people ask me to make plans or whatever, people think I'm a control freak, but it's like, no, listen, I don't know how I'm going to be feeling a month from now. And for me, with my back or the autoimmune or whatever, like, I can't tell you on Saturday, November 16th, if I'm going to be amazing. Can I tell you closer to the date?
That's
just the way it is.
It's the way it is. And like, having to reframe that even for yourself is really hard. The toxic positivity, I think, also is like, people saying, oh, lavender oil will help you go to bed. And you're
That's
like,
another whiteifying.
Oh,
yes.
The essential oils.
There's an essential oil for that, Laura.
It's like, listen.
And they're $98 for a thing this big. And it's going to change your world.
I love a good oregano oil. I love a good, lavender. But I need oxygen in my nose with a nasal cannula.
Yeah.
Lavender oil is not going to help that. So that's like, for me, the definition of toxic positivity is just like ignoring what you're saying.
Oh, yeah.
And then trying to put a positive spin on it. And then not listening to you. It's literally just, I don't want to hear what you're saying. I don't want to feel your pain. I want to distance what you're saying. So I'm going to put a positive spin on it and then ask, well, what'd you eat for lunch?
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Yes.
So for me, it's like, I really can't now have friendships that are these glossed over,
small talk,
shallow,
bullshit.
small talk. Yes. I can't do it because
ain't nobody got time.
Ain't got time for that shit.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
I was in a coma. Like, I need to catch up on all of that time I lost.
Got some Tiger King to watch.
Year.
What was it, a trip when you woke up? Was it a trip when you woke up and you knew the date?
Oh my God, it was so weird because people were referencing pop culture things and I was like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Dude.
It was so weird because I'm as someone who like loves like pop culture, new trends, all this stuff, to go, what's Tiger King? Or Taylor Swift just came out a new album. And it was so sad because my friend talked about this book and she was like, it's so good. And in my mind, I was like, I don't know if I'll ever read that because my hands were paralyzed. I couldn't hold anything. And my eyesight got kind of affected too. And people making these references. And I was like, I don't know what they are. And I don't know I'm going to get out of this hospital.
Have the things that you're interested in consuming now shifted through all this? Like the type of content you enjoy?
I honestly can kind of only do happy. I can't really do.
I get that.
I can't really do the really sad things. I was never a horror girl before. I was like, babe, I have anxiety. I don't need to watch a horror movie. Like, I'm good. It's already
and
in my
I can't
mind.
watch shows that are too real to life that it could happen.
Right.
So like for me, Grey's Anatomy is kind of slipped under me, and like certain things that take too much and it's too much pressure, I then go straight to YouTube, and I need very lighthearted, and I need it with my ADHD. It's like perfect. I can only commit to 8 minutes, and then or 7 minutes or whatever it may be. But the way I consume content is very different than the way I used to.
100%. Another one is I can't listen to someone complaining about stupid stuff. I'm like, oh God, you have no worries in your life. Like another really weird, bizarre thing that sometimes flashes, and I know this is going to be very dark, but sometimes I'll watch a TV show and I see someone like walking down a flight of stairs or someone jumping, and it makes me sad. I'm like, I can't do that right now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Like I watch people ski and I watch people go on roller coasters. I'm like, that's just something I can never ever do again.
Yeah.
I get that. It's hard.
Yeah, it's and it comes in waves. Like you can't really predict it. But I would say content wise, I just need bright and happy. Like Drag Race. Yes.
There you go.
Amazing.
Give me Trixie and
More
Katya.
RuPaul. Yeah.
Give me RuPaul. It's bright, it's happy, it's creative, it's queer, it's wonderful, and it's like that's what I need.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Oh my God, you've been so incredible sharing so much of your time with us, and I'm so glad that it actually worked out because I fucking love you so much. I love your energy. I love your spirit. From the second I heard your name, I'm like, oh my, I love that girl. And so I randomly show up, on you, and I'm just like, hey girl, check it in. Like,
no, it was like amazing, and you said such incredible things that I have still written down. Like it was like amazing. And I'm so glad we were able to, with our chronic illnesses, able to
have a positive spin. I mean, you know what I mean? So I just want to thank you for sharing your story because I know it's going to help so many people. And I guess the question would be the subtle change and the profound impact for you in this is what is your subtle takeaway that people can apply, whether they know somebody who's been in a coma, has a chronic illness, whatever it is, a subtle change that would help if people said or didn't say, or that you've applied to your own life?
The two biggest things I would say is if you're the observer of someone sick, listen to them. If 9 times out of 10, they're having a bad day. So listen to them, really ask, are you okay? And when they say no, don't say, that's okay.
Don't try to fix it.
Don't try to fix it. Say the 2 words, that sucks. That's it. That's all you have to say. That sucks. I'm sorry. That's it.
Yes. And that's hard, by the way, for people because people want to get themselves out of their own discomfort. So they're going to say whatever they can to you to fix their discomfort, and then they push it on you.
Yep. And it's...
Okay, Gar. Sorry.
Yeah. No, that's okay. And the second one is there's no such thing as a 5-year plan. If there was a 5-year plan, I would be on SNL in New York, and I'm here disabled with nasal cannulas shoved up my nose, living on my parents' couch. 5-year plans are a distraction to make you feel like you have control of your life. And the less goal-oriented, the better you'll be in the sense that, A, you can actually limit yourself if you set goals. What if I said it's SNL and that's it? But what if I could achieve something even bigger or greater? It's like, don't limit yourself in that way. And also, if you don't achieve that goal, you have such disappointment. And it's like, we should live on this journey. And I know that's really, really hard to do as someone who came from doing the breakdown of goals every weekly, monthly, yearly, like breaking down in Excel sheets. Like I was that person, and letting go of those 5-year plans and stop resisting change, the better you're going to be, your soul is going to be, and you're going to learn so much that the universe needs you to learn.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Well, it's like, I don't know if you listen to Abraham Hicks or not. Dina and I talk about it a lot, but she says, don't focus so much on the manifestation. Focus on the feeling, what you want to feel, on that journey.
100%. It's like,
yeah, and practice non-attachment, right? Like,
not
don't be
attachment.
so attached to that thing that you can't still enjoy whatever's coming. That, like you just said, might be better than you even ever planned for yourself.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
it's crazy. There's this, I forget what the term is, but a lot of actresses or actors, they'll get the Oscar, which is the peak of, that's the highest achievement you can get. And they get it and they go, now what?
Now what?
Now
yeah, and a lot of those, and a lot of their careers, you don't see them a lot right after. It depends on them. But some of them, you don't see them as much as you used to. And you're like, oh, wait, so I forgot to also manifest that I still want a career after that.
That's right.
Yeah. and I think that there's something to be said of like, the end goal is the top of the mountain, right? We want to see the views. But what if those views are cloudy that day? What if there's a torrential downpour? We have to be okay with the journey getting up there and living in those small moments before we get to the top. Because also, if those views are great, you also have to come down. Yes. You know what I mean? And then you have to build another goal with another mountaintop. And I think we have to be okay with living in the moment, in the present, and letting go of the manifestation. Truly, setting the goal, great. Having the manifestation, great. But letting it go and not letting it be your identity and what your soul needs for fuel and happiness, because you're going to have a lot of disappointment that way. So I think it's like letting it go, doing its own thing, but living for you and living what makes you happy every day.
And enjoying the process along the way.
Enjoying the process.
So many people they can only focus on the end thing, and then they forget all the little nuances and nooks and crannies of kindness and joy, and they don't enjoy that process of the yeah, but and the what if, and oh my God, and this is so amazing, and I'll never forget living in this tiny apartment with my boyfriend or by myself with my animal struggling, because then when I am successful, it's going to be that much more, enjoyable. And I think that people do get so sidetracked, and for different reasons, right? And so I think that you're absolutely right in that it is so important to just sort of, what you want, sort of put it aside, and then enjoy the journey on how you're getting there.
Yeah, and don't force it. I was forcing it before. I hate the journey. I hate road trips. Just get me from A to B. I don't care about some dive bar in Milwaukee that,
yes,
there's great hot dogs. Get me to the destination. You know what I mean? And
direct flight.
Direct flight. Not even a stop on the plane.
Yes.
And I heard this great quote that will forever, it forever changed me. Is I went to a wedding in Western Mass, and me and my friend, we had kind of the day to have time to do whatever we want. We were like, oh, there's this yoga class. Let's just try it out. It was so profound and one of the best things I've ever done. And she said, you have a candy bar and you're so excited to eat it and you gobble it up, and at the end, there's nothing there. And so she was like, enjoy the candy bar. Like, enjoy it while it's happening rather than fixating it on the finish line.
I like that analogy as a chocolate lover.
Yeah. It is profoundly changed me, because I was so hyper focused on these huge goals of like Broadway, SNL, like all of this stuff. and I wasn't happy in the middle of it. Finding your mini joys throughout the day, throughout the weeks is really important. And I also think I obviously don't take vacations because I can't travel because I'm so disabled still. But when I was working, I put all my eggs of happiness into a vacation that was going to happen 4 months from then. And then the vacation happened. I was still me. I was still upset, and then it ended, and then I was back at the day to day.
You got to the end of the candy bar.
Got at the end of the candy bar, and at the end of, you know, your goal or whatever, it's like, oh, this is it. This is what I was so miserable for in order to get. I think we have to let these goals do their thing and trust the process and just be happy in the interim.
Totally.
Amen,
and we
sister.
all used to work that way too, because, you know, I mean, let's face it, COVID changed the way that people work now, and thank God, right? So maybe this is, you know, I mean, you're already starting to find the opportunities in what you've been handed right now, which is so cool. And I'm doing that. Dina's doing that. I mean, I'm working from somebody's house right now in London, you know, and so grateful. But I would have never had this opportunity 2 years ago. You know what I mean?
Isn't it crazy?
It's like
crazy.
the little world was in a snow globe that just went.
Yes.
So yeah, it's interesting.
100%.
Thank you again for coming on, and thank you for spending so much time with us.
I hope we didn't.
Can we check in with you like down the road, because I'm sure I would love to hear about your first run or your first, you know, gym class or whatever it may be. Could we check in on you in a couple months?
Absolutely. I mean, I think it would be like just so interesting for listeners to show what progress is, and it's okay to have some digression as well. Like I think it would be really important for people to hear the positive, the negative, the neutrals.
Of course.
That it's not like, oh, you have to be a bionic person, and in 2 months you have to be in the Special Olympics and in your wheelchair playing basketball. You know what I mean? It's like we literally have to be okay in the like non-extremes. So I think I would absolutely love that, and I think it would be really genuinely helpful for people to hear like what a real person is doing in hard times.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's so, because then we can also check in with me too. And then we can check in with Ashley, because where will Ashley be living? Will I have a boyfriend or whatever it may be? Will you be on SNL? Like, I just think it's just so exciting, the idea of it. And then that is contagious with the energy of it. And then look at the three of us. We're able to talk and have a really meaningful, healthy conversation that will help us and other people. And I think like this is what it's about. It's these moments of connection that we don't feel so alone and we don't feel so isolated, and we feel like our voice actually can make a difference.
Yeah, that's huge. Isolation is crazy. I know a lot of people in COVID felt that. I think people do have to talk about the good, bad, and the ugly. I think it's really important, and to let go of shame. Shame is really ugly, and guilt is really ugly. 9 times out of 10, what you're thinking, someone else is thinking too.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're not crazy, and you're not isolated.
You're not as alone as you think you are. You're just allowing that narrative to give you these circumstances. Yeah.
Thank you, Laura. Well, it was so nice to meet you.
Thank you so much.
I'm so grateful, and I love you.
Okay. Take care.
Ciao.
Bye, honey. Bye.